Welcome to a special presentation presented by the good fellas at R1P. We are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs and specifically the NBA play-in. I'm your host, Leverett KT, and over here to my right, we got the one and only Jalen and journalist. Jalen, what's going on, player?
Oh, man, nothing much. Finished finals this week. I'm just chilling right now.
Hey, man, that's what I'm talking about. I know, I think you're one of the biggest NBA fans. I know you and Weez, y'all like, you know what I'm saying? If we could put a comparison on it, the NBA is here, the NFL is here. It's probably vice versa for me, but we, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna get right into it nonetheless. So we got this play-in. I know LeBron James has spoke out against the play-in. Well, somebody else, I think Mark Cuban also spoke out against the play-in. I think, wow, I agree with them. Those teams earned their spots, you know, the 7th and 8th seed. But the madness that it created, it made this Grizzlies-Warriors game very enticing. I just felt like a lot of games this past Sunday held a lot of weight. We seen what the Nuggets did. They kind of laid down and allowed the Blazers to win. I don't know. It just brings so much interesting perspective. So how do you feel about the play-in overall? As far as it being fair and overall, I think it's adding a new level of hypeness to the NBA.
As far as fair, I mean, it's fair for the 9th and 10th seed, but for the 8th and 7th seed, I don't think that's fair at all. Because, like, look at the Wizards, like, they started after the year 6 and 17. They battled all the way back to get a playoff spot today, like in the AFC today. Like, then it's like, oh, we got to go out and play for our spot. Like, we've been playing for our spot all year.
For sure.
We just play for our spot at the end of the year. And before that, I was looking at the Hornets. I'm like, the Hornets they had Gordon Hayward injured, they had LaMelo Ball injured. And I'm talking about, like, this was probably like not a week ago, but about 2-3 weeks ago. The Hornets had LaMelo Ball injured, they had Gordon Hayward injured. And then I look at the Bulls, I'm like, man, the Bulls got 2 healthy All-Stars. They have had 2 healthy All-Stars, mostly after the All-Star break. Remember, Zach LaVine had the little COVID situation happen. But I'm like, you telling me the Hornets have survived being a top 8 seed in the East without their best player and one of their other best players in Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball. And you got the Bulls sitting here that could potentially get a playing game, get in the playoffs, but they weren't in position, even though they had 2 All-Stars, which, you know, they had their 2 best players in. The Hornets didn't. Like, the Hornets outlasted them. And then I look at the Warriors. I'm like, man, the Warriors really ain't much of a. You look at their roster outside like Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins. It's just like, I mean, Kelly Oubre is hurt right now. So, I mean, if you want to include him, you can. If you want to exclude him, you can. I will exclude him right now because he's hurt, so he won't be in the playing games. So I'm just looking. I'm like, this really isn't a playoff roster you will see. And, you know, not every AC is, you know, almighty, but, like, you look at the supporting cast, Jordan Poole, Juan Toscano Anderson, James Wiseman is hurt, Kevon Looney. Like, it's just not the supporting cast you would expect to be able to make the playoffs, even with a Steph Curry and Draymond Green led team. And I'm just looking, I'm like, man, like, they just did all that, and now they gotta go back and play the Lakers now. And it's like, if I'm the Warriors, I'm like, we don't really got a playoff roster, bro. We were good enough to get to the playoffs, and we were good enough to outlast, you know, the 9th through 15th spots in the Western Conference. I'm like, man, they should not have to play for this spot. I mean, as a fan, it's always fun just because, you know, more basketball, and then it gets you really pumped up for playoff time. But as a player, I get where they're coming from, and I'm on the side of the players to where I don't really agree with it. Like, why should we have to play in our playing spot? Because, well, you know, they could be like, oh, well, the 18th, 17th seed, well, y'all should win more games. Well, I can be like, well, y'all should, well, 9th and 10th seed, y'all should win more games too.
Exactly.
Because because we had the same amount of games, and, you know, y'all didn't win more than us, especially for the Wizards, because the Wizards beat the Hornets the last game to get the A spot. So it's like, y'all should have beat us the last game to get that A spot. Then you got the Warriors beating the Grizzlies, no thanks to John Morant.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, well, if the Grizzlies want the 8 spot so bad, they should have beat us. Like, I don't know. I'm leaning more tied to the players than the fans.
So you said a lot of interesting things within that spiel. I think when we look at the grand scheme of things of this, of course, this episode we're going to primarily focus on the Eastern Conference side of this play-in, but Steph, when you enter his age, I think he still probably got a year or two left in his prime. Because I mean, he's a shooter. He's not like somebody that relies on athleticism to get to the cup or anything like that. He's just crafty as hell. When you think about his legacy, when you think about his impact, talk a little bit about Steph Curry to me.
Steph Curry's legacy impact. I think up until this year, some people will look at Steph Curry and was looking at Steph Curry and were like, oh he's a good player, but he's never got it done without help, without an all-star teammate. But then I'm like, look at 2014 when they beat the Nuggets first round. They lost to the Spurs the next round. I'm like, they beat the Nuggets and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson won the all-star. They were okay players. Klay Thompson was a good player that year. Draymond Green was a role player that year. He wasn't really too much because David Lee was still starting. But I'm like, man, like, what more does he have to prove? And then, you look at this year, I'm like, man, dude, legacy is like, it's solidified. He solidified as a Hall of Famer. He's already a Hall of Famer. He was a Hall of Famer before the season. And this season kind of meant a lot to legacy because, you had some people out here saying, well, this season will define Steph Curry's legacy, whether it's too much help or whether he had too much help or whether he can't lead his team. Because, especially LeBron fans, because, LeBron has led bad teams to the playoffs. And,
yes.
To the finals, too. So
no doubt.
It's like, well, Steph can do this. Not Steph, but LeBron can do this, but Steph can't do that. Like, how is Steph this great? Like, not everybody is LeBron. First of all, you have to notice that. But
right.
Like, let's not undervalue Steph's legacy and impact to the game of basketball. Like, every kid now just wants to shoot threes. Most time we're going out there and playing around. Now in the game, I don't know, but like. When just go to the park shooting with your friends, like most kids want to shoot threes,
and they want to shoot deep threes.
Yeah.
I think.
And it's like,
go
ahead.
I was saying, I think that if you look at the NBA and in the 80s, people want to play like Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas, the fancy passing point guards in the early 90s for a time period that everybody wanted to be like Mike. They wanted to go to the cup. They wanted to dunk the ball. But now in 1996, this guy from Georgetown named Allen Iverson, we all wanted to play like him. That's the group that I came up in. We were dribblers, the and one, like, now, like, it's team-oriented basketball. You move the ball. With us, we was dribbling, bro. We made ISO for 7 seconds. It ain't no shot clock. You run it. You know what I'm saying? Then you pass the ball to somebody else ISO. But this generation, like, you can't tell the story of the NBA without Steph Curry. And I'm not gonna lie, his legacy was solidified. But I thought last year he ducked a lot of wreck. I thought Klay Thompson was legitimately hurt. They no longer had Kevin Durant, and even if they did, he was hurt. But I thought last year he was okay. But he didn't want to play. So I think this year, not only did he have to prove it to himself, he had to prove it to the doubters as well. And I would say that the Western Conference is just too difficult. If they was in the Eastern Conference, I may say Warriors have a chance to go maybe to the second round of the playoffs. Possibly. But what he did this year, I think stamped his legacy, bro.
I want to say this, like every point guard has to be able to shoot now. Like if you're not shooting, you almost get taken out the game. Like Rondo has had to up his shooting because of the likes of Steph Curry, and with the likes of Steph Curry coming along, they got Damian Lillard taking more shots. They got James Harden taking more shots. Like now, like your point guard almost has to be able to shoot. Now you got John Morant, who is a young player, so he's gonna have to work on his shooting, but it's like teams don't like he kind of shot the Grizzlies out of the play-in game, out of the 8th spot just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, in essence, though, it was a play-in game if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? If you really think about it, it was the beginning of the play-in. It doesn't start, on the 18th. It really started the day for the Grizzlies and the Warriors.
Yeah, and like I want to say this too. People underestimate the Warriors' impact of basketball. Like Jeremiah Green's impact, like the fact that the Warriors was able to put Jeremiah Green at the 5 position, play small ball, and bring centers out to the 3-point line, to the perimeter. And then, after a couple years, teams start catching on. Like, okay, we gotta get a big man that can move and shoot threes. We gotta be able to play small ball too. So people underestimate Steph Curry's. Well, I don't think people underestimate Steph Curry's impact, but they underestimate the Warriors' impact of basketball.
I agree 100%. And shout out to Steph Curry, man. Congratulations with all your accomplishments. We're going to get into some MVP talk a little bit later on rapid fire questions, but let's move this along. So let's talk about the play-in tournament. We know we're doing the Eastern Conference side of things, but before we get there, let's preview this 3-6 Bucks Heat matchup. So Jalen and I, we were talking pregame, and I'm like, that Bucks Heat matchup can be dangerous for the Bucks, and Jalen was like, not so fast. He was like, this is not the same Heat team from last season. So I want you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Oh, well, it's just not the same defense. Like, don't get me wrong, Bam Adebayo is still one of the best defenders in the league. Jimmy Butler is one of the best defenders in the league, but like, Jay Crowder isn't on that team no more. Jay Crowder was a big reason why they were able to advance, especially with his shooting. Tyler Rozier isn't as good at shooting as people want him to be. He's shooting 36% from three this year. So it's like Duncan Robinson is always going to be a sniper because that's just what he is.
Right.
Goran Dragic, it has been okay, but I'm like, they're not as deep as last year. They aren't the defensive team that they were last year, and I look at it now. I'm like, Trevor Ariza was a good pickup, but I don't know. Like, I'm looking at it now, I'm like, okay, Bam Adebayo is going to be on Giannis most of the time. They're going to put Jimmy Butler on Giannis. But I'm like, who else is going to be on Giannis? Like, Trevor Ariza? I mean, I don't want to put Trevor Ariza on Giannis at all, for real. He's still a solid defender, but it's like, I don't want to put I don't want to put my trust in Trevor Ariza to guard Giannis. But then I'm looking like, so you put Bam on Giannis, Jimmy probably holds Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday. I'm like, if Jimmy holds one of them two, one of them two are also going to be held by Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, or Goran Dragic. Like all defensive liabilities. So I'm just looking, I'm like they don't match up well. Then I'm like, well, I ain't gonna say they don't match up well, but this isn't the same Heat team as last year. And then on top of that, this ain't the same Bucks team as last year just because the Bucks have got to upgrade in Drew Holiday. Had Drew Holiday been fully utilized to his full skill set? No, but he's still been a good player this year. But I really just think this is a different Bucks team, and this is a different Heat team this year.
Alrighty, so let's evaluate the Bucks the last couple of years in the playoffs. So last year they were put out by the Heat. The year before that they were put out by the Raptors, and the year before that I forgot who it was.
The Celtics, first round.
The Celtics. So these are the 4 key components, in my opinion, to playoff basketball. You got to be able to get stops. You got to force stops in the playoffs. Team ball comes to the forefront. 2-pointers are more critical in the playoffs. We seen what Kawhi Leonard did that time that they won the chat. Kawhi Leonard was just bringing the ball up, not doing too many things fancy. He was able to, when they needed a bucket, they got a bucket. And then
Jimmy Butler was cooking for 2-point last year, and Klay Thompson was also cooking in that same playoff with Kawhi Leonard from mid range.
Exactly. And then the last thing, you have to have a top 5 player, really a top 3 player that has to play lights out. We seen that with LeBron last year. We seen it Kawhi with the previous year. We seen it, I think it was Kevin Durant the year before that. So that has to happen. I think those are the 4 essential things to the playoffs. Get stops. Team ball really comes to the forefront. 2-pointers are more critical. And then you just have to have a top 5 player that just plays lights out.
Can I add one you might want to add on that list?
Absolutely.
Half-court offense.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not gonna be able to play in transition all the time like you are in the regular season. Like a game slow down in the postseason, and you got to have that half court offense be good.
Yeah, I always found it interesting, especially the later you get into the playoffs, that teams are barely getting to 100. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different type of game, and it's the game that I remember growing up too. So with that being said, give me a prediction. Out of, who you think will win the series and how many games you think it's going to take to win that series.
Bucks versus Heat, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna say, give me Bucks in 6.
Bucks in 6.
I think Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and the rest of the Heat squad puts up a valiant effort, but they're not gonna beat the Bucks this year.
All right, but before I give you my prediction, I want to say that I believe the NBA it's not just 5 positions anymore. You don't have your point guard, your shooting guard, your small forward, power forward, center. Those positions are still relevant, but you still got players like Damian Lillard. He's not a point guard. He's not a shooting guard. He's a ISO scorer. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you got somebody like Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's not really a point forward. He can dribble. He can rim run. Like, he's just his own position within his own. Speaking of Giannis, his legacy is on the line here. It is really on the line here. He took a gamble by signing that contract. With that being said, I look at their team, their ability to play defense, really good. They're 3-and-D. They're a 3-and-D type of team. I really like Chris Middleton. I think Chris Middleton is that guy that can get those 2-pointers for them. Giannis can run, but I mean those 15-footers, 17-footers. Chris Middleton can definitely do that. With that being said, coaching really comes to play in the playoffs. I can't go against Eric Spoelstra. I just can't in this scenario. I think he is going to out-coach your boy, Mike Budenholzer. I know you've complained before about their offense, so I got the Heat in 6 for that series.
I want to say this, Giannis, bro. If you need to guard Jimmy Butler, please guard Jimmy Butler. Please don't play no free safety role like you do in the regular season. Like, I want to say this real quick. I hate players that play free safety roles and they're labeled as defensive player of the year. That's what Giannis did last year. And he won defensive player of the year. I like a player that's like, okay, I'm the best defender on the team, or I'm defensive player of the year. I'm defensive player of the year candidate. Like, I'm gonna go and face this matchup. Now, of course, you don't want Rudy Gobert out there with Damian Lillard, but like, Giannis has the ability to guard the perimeter. He has the ability to guard Jimmy Butler. And it's like last year he was scared to take that assignment at times. Like, I like when Kawhi was like, okay, I'm gonna have to guard Giannis sometimes. Oh well, I'm gonna live with it. And that's what I'm gonna do. When Kawhi took the assignment to guard LeBron, like, I love when players do that. Like, I hate when players run from the smoke, and that's what Giannis does sometimes.
You've seen it with LeBron James and Jamal Murray when he was having that crazy Western Conference Finals. Them last couple games, LeBron said, that's my assignment.
Yeah, you remember LeBron, 2011 NBA Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron took on the task of guarding Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose, prime Derrick Rose, who was scary back in those days. We also seen it, and it didn't work out in their favor, but it almost did. Patrick Beverly taking on the Kevin Durant assignment. That was a beautiful thing. So it's interesting. Like you say, he can't play that free safety role. That was a great tidbit. Wow. All right, so let's get on to this 4-5 series. I'm not gonna lie. As a purist, I'm happy. I'm happy for Spike Lee. I'm happy for Stephen A. Smith. The NBA is just better when the Knicks are relevant. I don't know what it is about it. I know a lot of people will disagree with me. Madison Square Garden is still a mecca of basketball. The New York Knicks are still the team. I'm excited for them. And I feel like they got a coach that really represents that New York state of mind, like grit and grind, that, we going to play our type of ball. We going to play physically. I'm happy for the New York Knicks. I'm also happy for the Atlanta Hawks, and I think both of those teams haven't been to the playoffs since 2013. But if you remember, the Atlanta Hawks season didn't start so well. I seen a game with them and the Hornets. I want to say game 5, game 6 of the season. They look really shaky. And I remember I hit a moon vibes. I'm like, what's going on with Ice Trey? He's like, man, him and Collins beefing. I didn't know that was going on at the time. But clearly that situation was able to be alleviated. So overall, how do you feel about this matchup, Jalen?
I feel like it's gonna be a good matchup, but it's like I feel like the Knicks are gonna be favoring this matchup just because you look at it, they match up well with the Hawks. The Hawks don't match up well with them, if you ask me. Like Trae Young is gonna be guarded by, I believe, Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton is a defensive minded point guard, doesn't really provide much offense. Mm-hmm. Then you got Kevin Huerter being guarded by RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett has potential to be a good defender, but he's been decent this year. He's been okay this year. He's been in the middle. Then at the 4 position, the 3 position, you got Bogdanovich being guarded by whoever the Knicks want to put at 3 that game. Right. Whether it's like Julius Randle, where they want to put Reggie Bullock in, or but like then you got Julius Randle versus John Collins. I'll take Julius Randle any day this season over John Collins.
For sure.
Then you got Nerlens Noel being guarded by Clint Capella. Both really provide nothing on offense. Both really are just lob threats and defensive centers. Right. That's what Nerlens Noel has turned into. Like, Nerlens Noel has been good these last weeks since Mitchell Robinson has been out. Hopefully Mitchell Robinson can come back for the playoffs. But it's like, I see like Derrick Rose is coming off the bench. Like, Derrick Rose has been on fire, and I love it. Mm-hmm. He ain't athletic like prime Derrick Rose, but he's a better shooter than prime Derrick Rose. And it's like he's a more complete player now than prime Derrick Rose, if you ask me too. Prime Derrick Rose. MVP Derrick Rose, by the way. But I'm just like, they don't match up well with the Knicks. I'm talking about the Hawks. Like, I don't think the Hawks will be able to deal with the Knicks' physicality
at all.
The Knicks are a defensive-minded team, and Tom Thibodeau is a defensive-minded coach. And Nate McMillan, hats off to him. He has done good this season. He was the big reason why they turned it around. So, and I know I was making fun of him earlier, but sadly, he's going to be a first-round punching bag again, and he's going to go out.
Oh man. So the series, what you got? I know you got Knicks. I think we both will agree on this one.
I got Knicks in 5.
I got Knicks in 5 as well. I wanted to say it at the same time, honestly. But yeah, I got the Knicks in 5. It's something about Tom Thibodeau. I know he coaches hard. I think sometimes he coached the Knicks a little. The Bulls back in the day a little too hard. But he gets the best out of Derrick Rose. We seen what Derrick Rose did in Minnesota. We seen what Derrick Rose is doing now. He just always gets the best out of Derrick Rose. And like I said, I agree with you. We both got Knicks in 5. So let's get into our play-in bracket. I'm gonna go to mine first, explain mine. Then we're gonna go straight to Jalen's. Then we're gonna get into a little RFQ, and then we're gonna close this bad boy up. So let's go to mine, and let me explain to you all my thoughts. So before I get into my Eastern Conference play-in bracket, I want to kind of explain to you the rules. So the 7th seed, the 8th seed, the 9th seed, and the 10th seed are all playing to get those last 2 seeds, which are the 7th seed and the 8th seed, in the NBA playoffs. So the 7th seed, the Boston Celtics, and the 8th seed, Washington Wizards, have like 2 chances to get in. So those 2 teams play. The winner of that team is that game is automatically the 7th seed. The loser of that game has a chance to play the winner of the 9th and 10th seed game. The 9th seed being the Pacers, the 10th seed being the Hornets. Whoever loses those games is out. Whoever wins has a chance, and they move on to play the loser of the 7th and 8th seed. So I want to kind of give y'all some context before we actually get into my bracket. So the Pacers and the Hornets, let's discuss that game first, 9th and 10th game. I haven't liked the way the Hornets played for the better part of a week and a half. Really, LaMelo Ball hasn't hit the stride he had before the injury. So I'm going with Pacers in that game. The 7th seed and 8th seed game is so interesting with Jalen liking the Celtics, and I'm a Wizards fan. I truly think that Russell Westbrook is not going to allow the Wizards to lose this game. So I had the Wizards sliding into that 7th slot to play the Brooklyn Nets. So Celtics and Pacers, both of them, I'm sure it'll be the last game of the day. Both of them trying to get to the 8th seed. I'm going with the Celtics. I think Jason Tatum will be the best player on the floor, and I think he will be better than the Pacers' best player, Domantas Sabonis. So that will leave some interesting matchups. We got the Nets versus the Wizards, Kevin Durant versus Russell Westbrook. You know what type of hype that's going to be, but I don't think the Wizards are a good matchup for the Nets. I think the Nets will handle them rather candidly, to be honest with you. But the 76ers in the Celtics series can be very interesting, and I think I would love that for a first 8 matchup. I think the Celtics can at least win 2 of those games, so it'll be very interesting. So this is my bracket. Let's move on to Jalen's bracket.
Nice bracket, KT. So for the first part, I got, Celtics playing the Wizards. Man, like, we got by this season wrong, but it's like, man, our time is up because Jalen Brown is injured. Like, when Jalen Brown got injured, I'm like, man, all hope is lost. Like, we went from a hard to beat, most likely 7th or 8th seed team to, if we make the 7th or 8th seed, we probably getting the brooms brought down on us the first 4 games. So in that case, I got the Wizards win. The Celtics ain't got Jalen Brown. Wizards got too much to handle for us. I don't like the way the Celtics have been playing. We have played lackluster all season. We don't have a deep team. Some of that's due to Danny Ainge. A little bit of that's due to Brad Stevens. I want to create this pie chart real quick in my head. Well, I did that last night, but 60% of the Celtics failure this season has come on Danny Ainge. 20% has come on Brad Stevens, and 20% has come on, health and safety protocols. The Celtics have been in and out of the health and safety protocols. Also, Jalen Brown got injured. Jason Tatum began injured. Kemba Walker was injured at the beginning of the season. Marcus Smart was injured at one point. So that's a little pie chart for y'all. But yeah, I got the Wizards advancing. The Wizards are getting the AFC, lock that in. Then you got the Hornets at the Pacers. If you ask me, the Hornets, I like what KT said. He said he didn't like how the Hornets been playing lately. I don't either. I don't think LaMelo has been as good since coming back from injury. And to me, I think the Pacers have the better team. They have the more complete team. And I just think they match up well with the Hornets, and the Hornets don't match up well with them. So in that case, I think Sabonis goes off for a 20, maybe 20 or 20 game, probably 20 and 15 game, and they win, as Malcolm Brogdon also has a big game. So that will leave the Celtics playing the Pacers, and sadly, we don't have a big man to really guard Miles Turner or Sabonis. Well, we got Robert Williams, but he can only guard one of those players. So it's like we don't really have guys that can guard them. I mean, unless you want to put Jason Tatum on Sabonis, I really don't want to. But if we have to, I guess Brad Stevens will. But I just don't think the Celtics will have the depth to pull away game. I think the Pacers will end up winning this game, and I got the Pacers taking it. Pacers get the 8th seed, Wizards get the 7th seed, and the Wizards will play the Nets, and the Pacers will play the 76ers.
Wow. I know in doing this, Jalen, I know you're a Celtics fan, and and kind of your role within R1P is you're like a realist. You trust your eyes. You always tell yourself your eyes never lie. I'm surprised with the Celtics. Hearing your point of view on your bracket, I kind of understand it. I know you've watched a lot of their games this year. I know Jalen Brown has been injured a lot of times, where he's been he gets it going in the beginning, and Jason Tatum has kind of been a closer. It'll be interesting. I know our bracket is similar. I just, like I said, I have the Celtics. I just think that Jason Tatum will be the best player on the floor, and he has to be in order to win.
Yeah. And like, if he wants to prove he can be that guy, like, I mean, 6-game sample size isn't big enough, but like, but like to help that case to prove they could be the guy, it would be right now. Like you want to be the guy, lead us to the playoffs, please. Like I just think if he wants to prove he's on that level to where some people think where he was last year, and some people think he was going to be this year, he has to perform. He has to put like a Melo type prime Melo performance.
Love that comparison. Really love that comparison.
But like I think he will. I just don't think the supporting cast will step up. The Marcus Smart, but I don't know. Hopefully the Celtics do play the 76ers first round, because I think we match up better with the 76ers than we match up better
than the Nets. Yeah,
the Nets.
Yeah, that 76ers series will be interesting. They got depending on who they play. I don't trust the Sixers, man. I trust their coaching. I just don't trust them. That good team defensively, but like you seen what the Heat did to them. Like it was bad, bro. Like it was embarrassing. Like Udonis Haslem even came in and played with him. Like you know what I'm saying. Like it was just I don't know. I don't trust the 76ers.
Honestly, the Sixers might have the easiest path to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're gonna play the Wizards, Celtics, Pacers,
the Hawks or the Knicks
first round. Yeah. Then the Hawks or the Knicks second round. Mm-hmm. So it's like they match up well with all of those teams
for sure.
They have a chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They have a chance to make it to the finals. They do.
And hopefully coaching will be the biggest thing to get them over the hump, because I would love to see them in the finals, but like I said, I'm not all the way sold. So let's get into a couple of rapid fire questions, and then we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. So the first rapid fire question, I know your answer, but I'm gonna answer anyway. Can the Lakers go from the play-in to the finals to champions?
Well, I remember my dad used to always tell me when LeBron was like on that eight in a row, he always would tell me, you know what, it's cool, y'all can beat us in regular season because we're gonna see you in June. And I used to just laugh because I'm like, man, it's probably true. And if it's probably true again this year, most likely, because I mean, if it's two people that's playing professional sports right now that I do not doubt, it's Tom Brady and it's LeBron. Because every time I doubt LeBron, he just somehow proves me wrong. Every time I doubt Tom Brady, which I really haven't doubted Tom Brady, but every time somebody doubts Tom Brady, he proves them wrong.
For sure.
So it's like yeah, they can go from play-in to NBA Finals.
Alrighty. I like that answer. I believe they can too. It just all going to depend how healthy LeBron is. I've never seen LeBron say anything like, it's weird to see him say, I don't know if I'll ever be 100% again. Alrighty, so give me a sleeper team that can go on a deep playoff run.
I mean, would you say the Nuggets? Would you say the Nuggets are deep? Are a sleeper team?
They're what, third seed? Yeah, they can be considered a sleeper team.
I mean, I think the Nuggets can. Who they play first round? They play the Trailblazers. Mm-hmm. Then after that, they play the winner of the two. Right? They play the winner of the.
Yeah, you're right. 2-7.
Yeah, 2-7, and the 2 seed is the Suns, and the 7 seed is the Lakers, Warriors, Grizzlies, or Spurs. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they can get past those matchups, especially if the Lakers can get knocked out early, because I don't think they can beat the Lakers, but the rest of the teams in the East, I think they can do fine with, especially Michael Porter Jr. stepping up. I think the Nuggets are poised to make a deep run in the playoffs.
I like that answer. Give me one in the East.
One in the East, and the Knicks. If it's any team that's gonna make a deep playoff run, it's the Knicks.
Yeah, I agree. I think I told you that the Knicks, I'm thinking it's poised for a run this year.
Especially because they might play the Sixers second round. They play the Hawks first round. It's like if they can exploit the Sixers and the Sixers, if they can exploit the Sixers, then they can make the Eastern Conference Finals.
For sure. Russell Westbrook's legacy. How do you feel about it? because I've talked to you about Russell Westbrook. I have strong feelings about Russell Westbrook. I'm going to be honest here. I didn't like the John Wall trade. Knowing what I know now, I feel a little bit better about it. John Wall means a lot to this city. It just means a lot to this area in general. Russell Westbrook, I've always viewed him as a selfish player, but I'm starting to think he's misunderstood a little bit. What he did this year means more to me, and not just speaking as a Wizards fan, more than he's done in his career. I think him playing on not so talented teams fits his mold better than him playing with talented players.
So the question was, what's Russell Westbrook's legacy?
What's his legacy? Yes.
Okay. It's a player that was, at the end of his career, is going to be a player that was like electrifying to watch, especially in his prime. He averaged what? This is what, his fourth season with triple-double averages?
Yeah.
So it's going to be like, oh, well, he was a player that filled the stat sheet, played on some good teams, played with some good players, was an MVP, was an all-time great point guard. And I think he'll be looked at the same way like Charles Barkley is, all-time great player. Some people will make fun of him because he ain't got no rings, but at the end of the day, he will go down as an all-time top 50 greatest player of all time.
All righty, and finally, we're gonna end this episode with one last question: who's your league MVP?
Nikola Jokic.
Steph Curry.
Who's yours?
Steph Curry. Yes, sir. I'm a believer. After what I seen today, I'm a believer. Any final words for you, Jalen?
Yes. I want to say this. KT, did you see somebody in Houston made a poll and say, "Will John Wall be back next season? Yes or no?" on Instagram. You can make polls on your Instagram story.
Mm-hmm. What was like 82% no?
Yeah, and one vote was from John Wall. Somebody screenshot it and put a vote from John Wall that said no. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of funny.
Wow.
I didn't see him coming back.
Wow.
But I mean, thanks for people that watch. There's really no last words from me.
All righty. Great job as always, Jalen. Jalen will also be doing the Western Conference play-in as well. Make sure y'all check us out on all of our networks. We actually just launched the R1P website, and you can catch us at realonesproductions.com. All types of article, exclusive content, things of that nature. Hey, like Jalen said, man, we appreciate all of you all. This has been fun, and it's only the beginning. So until next time, I'm Leverett KT. That's Jalen the Journalist. Peace.